Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm sharing another shelf cooking recipes video. So we have just been trying to use up tons of stuff in our pantry, our fridge, our freezer, and we've been really trying to save money. So I'm trying really hard not to let things go to waste. If it's in the fridge, I will make sure to use it up right away. I've been throwing things in the freezer. I have just been trying to do as much as I can to save on our grocery budget, and I think a lot of you guys are the same way because groceries are so expensive right now. So if you want to see some really budget-friendly recipes using things up in my fridge, my freezer, and my pantry, just stay tuned. For this dinner, I'm making some lasagna soup. This one was so delicious and my kids absolutely loved it. Total hit in our house. So I'm just starting off with a drizzle of olive oil in my Dutch oven, heating that up, and then I'm adding in one whole onion as well as a yellow bell pepper. Use whatever bell pepper you have, but I do really like the sweet ones in this recipe. And then I'm just stirring those up. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper in here. And then I am also gonna add some pork sausage, but I like to season the vegetables before adding in the pork, so the seasoning goes more on the vegetables instead. So I'm just adding in this Jimmy Dean's sausage, and then I'm just gonna cook all of this together. After my meat was browned, I'm just adding in about a tablespoon of minced garlic. If you can use fresh, that is the way to go. It adds so much great flavor. Just cook that for like a minute or two. And then I added in about 2 to 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, about half a cup of this Raos that I had left over in the fridge, but you can use whatever marinara sauce. I did go ahead and rinse out that jar, and then I added in probably about 6 cups of chicken broth. You can do a little bit more or a little bit less, just depending on how many noodles you actually want to add. And then you're just going to bring this up to a boil. You are going to want to add in some seasonings. I did Italian seasoning, oregano, parsley. I will have the measurements listed out in my description box, and then of course a little bit of salt and pepper to taste as well. But I just brought this up to a boil, and then once it's boiling, that is when I'm going to add in my pasta. For the pasta here, you can really use whatever you want, but I did go ahead and use just like lasagna noodles. I broke them up. I started off with adding about 6 of them, and I think in total I added about 8 of them. But again, it's just gonna depend on what consistency you want. Like if you want your soup to be a little bit thicker or thinner. My husband really likes thicker soup, so I went on the thicker side. I added in about a cup of some freshly shredded mozzarella cheese. Let that melt. Make sure that your heat is turned off so you don't burn it. And then that's really it. I did go ahead and top it with some more mozzarella, a little bit of parsley for garnish, but this one was so good, you guys, and my kids absolutely loved it too. For this next dinner, I'm making a cheesy shell pasta. This one was absolutely delicious. Again, super easy to make. I'm just starting off with 1 pound of some lean ground beef, and then I'm adding in 1 onion that's all chopped up and ready to go. For this recipe, I had some peppers that needed to get used up, so I'm just dumping in a mix of orange, yellow, and red pepper. Chop them up, throw them in there, and then I'm just browning all of this together. Once my ground beef was browned, I'm just adding in a scoop of minced garlic. Let that cook for a minute or two. I do like to get all of my garlic prepped and ready to go and freeze it that way. I do a reel on it over on my Instagram if you want to see how I do that. And then here is my tomato sauce. I'm just adding in a jar of Hunt's that I had in the pantry, a can of petite diced tomatoes in there, and then about 3.5 to 4 cups of water, just depending on how much pasta that you want to add. I would say go ahead and start with like 3.5 cups, and you can add that extra half cup if you want to. And then I'm just going to stir this together before adding in my seasonings. I did not measure here, but I did lots of basil, Italian seasoning, oregano. Think all of those lovely Italian seasonings. Add those in there along with a little bit of salt and pepper, and then just bring this up to a boil, and then we're going to be adding in the pasta. Earlier you saw that I just added in some water, so that was actually in place of beef broth. So what you saw me just add now was some beef bouillon for that water, and then I'm just going to bring this up to a boil, get that boiling before adding in my box of shell pasta, and then I'm just going to let this boil until that shell pasta is completely cooked through. Once it is cooked through, you can add in really whatever you want to. I definitely like to add in a little bit of cheddar cheese into ours, but that is just personal preference. I like to mix them in, add a little bit on top if you want to, but this one was absolutely delicious. Definitely will make this again. Super quick and easy one-pot dinner. I love making pasta this way. For this next dinner, I'm making a hash brown taco bake. This one was perfect to use up some hash browns that I had. I'm starting off with a pound of some lean ground beef, as well as about 1 chopped bell pepper. It was just in my freezer, 1 chopped onion in there, and then I'm just gonna brown all of this together, super quick and easy. After my ground beef was cooked, I'm just adding in 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning. I like to make mine from scratch, but you could obviously use the pre-made stuff from the store as well. You can do a packet of that or 2 tablespoons. And then over to my mixing bowl here, I have about half a bag of some shredded hash browns in there. I added in probably like 3/4 of a cup of sour cream, half a cup of some salsa that I had to use up, a little bit of garlic powder, salt and pepper. Of course, you can add in other seasonings here if you want to, but there is a lot of seasoning in the taco seasoning as well. And then I added in some leftover cheese. I would say this is about a cup of shredded cheddar cheese that I had in there. And then I'm just mixing all of this together before adding in the ground beef. Once my ground beef was completely cooked and ready to go, I just dumped this in with the potatoes, mix all of this together to make a yummy casserole. This is such a quick, easy weeknight meal. Also something you could totally prep ahead of time and then have it ready to go in the fridge. Once it's close to dinner, pop it in the oven and do it that way. Really great prep ahead meal. Spray your 9x13 with some oil. I'm just using avocado oil, and then I'm just spreading this out. You can top it with cheese if you want to. That's what I did do on this day, but of course that's optional. You don't have to. I baked this in a 375-degree oven for probably I think it was about 40 to 45 minutes, I would say. I did broil it at the end just to get the cheese on top really nice and brown, but this one was absolutely delicious. Definitely recommend for just a throw together meal. A great way to use up ingredients in your fridge. For this next dinner, I'm making a sausage and orzo soup. This is a recipe that I've tweaked a little bit, and we absolutely love this one. I'm just starting off with a pound of some ground sausage. Then I'm adding in 1 chopped onion. Just like all these recipes started with, super easy, just brown that up. While that is browning, I'm actually grating up some carrots. I think I used about 4 or 5 of them for this recipe. I love this rotary grater. If you do not have a rotary grater, I highly recommend it. It makes grating cheese, carrots, whatever you are grating, it just makes it so easy and simple. So I'm just getting those grated up, and then once that ground beef is done cooking or just about done cooking, I added in the carrots, and I let these cook for probably just 3 minutes or so. These were finely grated, so they did not need to cook for very long, plus they will cook a little bit more in the soup. And then I'm adding in a frozen block of garlic in there. Obviously it's frozen, so it takes a couple minutes extra, but I just let that cook up a little bit before adding in my seasonings. I will have all of the seasonings listed out in my description box just to make it easy for you guys to follow along with. And then I'm just adding in some chicken broth. Something that I've been doing lately is adding in bone broth instead, just to make it a little bit healthier. This was a carton of bone broth, and then I've also got a big can of crushed tomatoes in there, and I'm just going to stir all of this together. I put the lid on just to bring it up to a boil, and then once that is boiling, it's time to add in the orzo. I added in about half a box of orzo, but again, it's just going to depend on how thick you want your soup to be. My husband really likes thick soups, so I did add a little bit more of that. And then of course, just add a little bit of extra salt or pepper or whatever you want to add at the end. Give it a taste, see what you think it needs. But this is such an easy soup and so delicious. My kids really like this one too. Alright you guys, that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed this shelf cooking style video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments if you want to see more videos just like this, and I will see you all in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.